Hi friend, it's Michelle. Today we're reading a story that honestly made me stop and just breathe for a minute, because this one is about bodies. It's about pregnancy, and it's about the way that some people misunderstand the emotional and physical reality of what it means to carry a child. This is not a haha Reddit kind of drama. This is about empathy or lack thereof it. Okay, let's dive into it. Am I the asshole for going on a hiking trip with my pregnant wife? Already, let's just notice something. The question isn't, did I push my wife too hard, or did I misjudge the situation? It's, was I wrong for doing something I insist was harmless? That tells me that this man already sees himself as the reasonable one and his wife as the problem. And this is just the title. We haven't even really dived in and got started yet. So let's get back into it. Over the weekend, my wife and I went on a hiking trip with some of my friends. We've always been active people, but it kind of seems like my wife, who's 6 months pregnant, has sort of turned into a couch potato in recent weeks. Stop. She is 6 months pregnant. Her body is literally building a human being. Her organs are rearranging in there. Her blood volume is increasing. Her joints loosen. Her stamina changes. Even her breathing changes. Calling a pregnant woman a couch potato because she doesn't have the energy of her old self, that right there, that's not just insensitive. It's emotionally immature. So right there, that was already a lot. Let's move on and see what else he has to say. It caused her to gain a bit of weight and become moody. So I figured some exercise would be good for her and for me. The way he talks about her weight gain, like it's a moral failing or something like that, like her body isn't doing the most profound biological thing that a human body can do, that's already like, wow to me. There is already a lack of respect here, not just misunderstanding. There's disregard, total complete disregard on his end for her. Also, by him saying, I figured some exercise would be good for her, notice the subtle kind of control here that's happening. Not, she wanted to go, not, we talked about it and we decided together, but I decided this for her. Let's see what else he has to say. Well, I thought I picked a pretty easy hike. It's close to our house, about 4 miles out and back, but it can be a bit steep in places. She's done it before, so it couldn't have been too much of a surprise. Yes, she did it before she was pregnant. 6 months pregnant, might I say. Her body is not the same body. Her center of gravity, it's different. Her circulation is different. Her lungs are literally working harder to create oxygen for two bodies, not just one, not just hers, but for two bodies, because she is carrying a child. This comparison, it's so unfair just from the start right there. And the tone here, it says something more like, I know what's reasonable for her, instead of, I checked in with her and her body to see if she can do this, to see how she feels about this. Let's continue on to see what he says. Well, we were about a third of the way done when my wife started huffing and puffing. My friends slowed down to accommodate her, so I decided to slow down too. That line right there, my friends slowed down, so then that's when I decided to slow down too, not because his wife needed him, not because he was recognizing and tuning in with her discomfort, but because the group dynamic changed. This is a picture-perfect moment of emotional distance in partnership. Decisions are made by social cue, not by intimacy between the two people. Let's get back to it to see what else he had to say. After half a mile of the huffing and puffing, my wife looked pretty bad. She got really pale and was hunched over on one side of the trail. I was sort of shocked to see her in this state. She had let herself go recently, but I didn't think she would lose her fitness this quickly. Let herself go? He keeps using that phrase like her pregnancy is some sort of moral decline. This isn't about fitness. This is about a pregnant woman in distress. Her body is literally working overtime to keep blood pressure stable and oxygen flowing. She's pale, she's hunched over. Hello, she's not okay. And he's standing there evaluating her like a performance review. Oh, honey, it looks like you're lacking on this one. You're lacking on that one. You're lacking on this one. What? Let's get back to what he's saying. However, a few minutes later, she actually started to throw up. That's not out of shape. That's her body screaming, stop. The nausea, the dizziness, weakness, those are all signs of low blood pressure, or signs of overheating, or signs of dehydration, or signs of reduced oxygen to the brain, or signs of stress response in pregnancy. This is not just, oh, she's out of shape, she's gonna be fine. This is a medical red flag moment right here. Let's turn back to see what he said. And at this point, we all decided to head back. We all decided, that's the wording that he used. We all decided to head back. Not, I immediately took care of my wife. There's a detachment here. That's not normal. That's not healthy in a relationship. Almost like he's viewing her as some type of obstacle in his day and not as his partner. Let's get back to what he was saying. I'm fully aware she's going to deliver a baby in 3 months, but I can't help but to think that she wouldn't have embarrassed me in front of my friends if she had kept up her exercise routine. We both ate the same food at breakfast, and we both, are you pregnant? Are you 6 months pregnant? And I never got sick, so that couldn't have been it either. We got back to the parking lot and I apologized for my wife's behavior to my friends. No, just oh no. He apologized for her body struggling under the demands of being 6 months pregnant, of being pregnant. He apologized for her being human in a moment where she needed care, where she needed recognition, where she needed her husband to step up and to go see if she was okay. And he did it behind her back. And guess what? She heard it. That's humiliation. That is betrayal. That is, my image mattered more to me than your pain, than what you're going through, than your suffering. This is such a huge emotional pivot here. So she heard him. She didn't just hear what he said. She heard how he sees her. And once you hear that, that's something that you just can't erase away. That's something that you just can't unhear. So let's just pause, let's just breathe, because we're about to get into the reaction, and I know I'm feeling heated in the moment reading this because this man has red flag written all over him left and right. So let's just shake it off, just take a couple of deep breaths, and let's get back into that parking lot moment, because that's where the real story happens, okay? So it sounds like where we left off, she's standing there, she's physically exhausted, she's humiliated, trying to get her breath back, and she hears, sorry about her, she just hasn't been keeping up with things. Do you know what that sentence translates to someone overhearing that? What it translates to them emotionally? She embarrassed me. Not, she's not feeling well. Not, she pushed herself further than she should have. Not, my wife is struggling. I see her struggling. Can you just give us a minute, please? But more like, I am inconvenienced by her. So I'm apologizing for that. And that right there, that's how you break emotional safety in a marriage. Because emotional safety isn't about the big romantic gestures. It's about moments like this right here. Moments where you do not protect your partner when they're in this vulnerable state. Moments when you have to ask yourself, do you speak for me or against me when others are watching? Are you my partner, or are you managing your image? And in that moment, when his vulnerable wife needed him, he chose his image. Now let's get back into it where we're hitting the argument here. When I got back to the car, she went nuts. She told me that I was an idiot for thinking she could keep up at normal pace, and that I was a grade A asshole for insinuating that my wife had thrown up on purpose. Of course she did. Not because she's moody, not because she's hormonal, and not because she's overreacting, but because she was unsafe. When your body is already overwhelmed and the person who is supposed to protect you makes your pain a social inconvenience, your nervous system, what it does is it goes into fight mode. It's going to protect itself. It's going to perceive the situation as a threat. So it's going to do what it needs to do to protect itself. So she wasn't yelling because she's dramatic. She was yelling because her emotional security was threatened. And that right there, that's survival instinct. Then he goes on to say, I listened to her rant at me before politely asking if she thought she would have felt so sick if she hadn't been a couch potato recently. This right here is where we see the core problem. He thinks the issue is fitness. He thinks the solution to that issue is discipline. He thinks the problem is her, when in reality, the issue is that he does not understand anything about pregnancy. He does not understand women's bodies at all. He does not understand attunement, partnership, or care. And the saddest part is that he thinks he's being reasonable here. He thinks he's in the right. Then he goes on to say, but she refused to engage with me at all. I wanted it to dawn on her that she was at least partially to blame for this, but she refused to take any responsibility. This happened on Saturday, and even today has been really tense. It's as if she's holding a grudge against me, and I don't know how to get her to stop. She's really making me sad with this horrible treatment. Am I the asshole? Let's break it down. He sees pregnancy obviously as something that's happening to her, not happening to them. He views it as it's a her problem, not a us problem. To him, it sounds like he views her as just being lazy. To her, her entire biology is reorganizing itself every single day. Pregnancy is not, I'm a little tired. Pregnancy is increased blood volume, lower lung capacity, lower blood pressure, acid reflux, joint instability, and fatigue from growing a literal human being. So she's not over there just slacking, having a good time, sitting back, being this couch potato that he views her as. She is building life, and he's treating that like a personal inconvenience. And it sounds like to me that he might be jealous of the attention that pregnancy requires. And he might not be jealous consciously, but emotionally he is. Pregnancy shifts the center of the relationship from the couple identity to motherhood identity. Some men take that shift as abandonment, as a loss of control, or as a threat. So what do? They try to restore the old dynamic, the normal pace that they had, the normal activities that they engaged in, the normal expectations that they had. But when you're pregnant and you're bringing another life into the picture, the relationship is not normal anymore. Her body is no longer normal. Life is not normal anymore. He is grieving the loss of the woman that she used to be. But instead of naming that grief, he is punishing her for it. And he apologized to his friends because he was embarrassed, not because he was concerned. And that's the wound right there. Because embarrassment is about self-image, whereas concern, that's about care. It didn't register on him, and he didn't feel like, hey, my wife is unwell. He felt like my wife made me look bad. And listen, you have to recognize that hurts in a way that sticks to you. That's the kind of hurt that you remember years later during unrelated arguments, because it's not about the hike anymore. It's about the fact that she probably feels like he cares more about how he looks than about how she feels. And right now, the answer is clear. Now let's talk about the guilt strategy, because he said, I wanted it to dawn on her that she was at least partially to blame. I'm gonna have to say no, absolutely freaking not. When a person is physically overwhelmed and emotionally vulnerable, the goal is not to teach them a lesson. That is emotional weaponizing right there. He wanted her to apologize for her body failing, apologizing for her needing support from her partner, apologize for being pregnant, This man is not sad because she's angry. He's sad because she didn't validate his ego. That's why he's confused. He thinks, I was logical, I was calm, why is she still mad? Because logic without empathy is cruelty. But what's really happening here is that she's grieving the realization that my husband does not protect me when I'm vulnerable. And once that realization lands and it sticks, the relationship, it shifts. There's a before that, and then there's an after that. Before was the assumption of safety, but now after is awareness of emotional aloneness. And that right there is the kind of rupture that does not just get fixed with an I'm sorry. And it doesn't just get fixed with I was just trying to help you. And it doesn't get fixed with you're overreacting. That kind of rupture can get fixed with accountability on his part, with attunement, with repair. And it sounds like from what he's saying that he is nowhere near that yet. So let's sit with what actually happened here. Because yes, on the surface, this was just a hike. And yes, there was a moment of embarrassment on that hike. And yes, things got said. But what this really was, it was a break of emotional safety. And emotional safety is the foundation of any relationship, especially during pregnancy. Pregnancy is one of the most vulnerable seasons a person can live through. And that's not just physically, that's emotionally, that's mentally, that's relationally. It is a season where the body is literally working overtime, where the nervous system is in a constant state of adaptation, where the identity of me is slowly merging into us. And during that season, your partner isn't just your spouse. They're your home. They're your safety. They're your net. They're the person you look to and you think, am I safe here? Can I be soft? Can I be vulnerable? Can I struggle without being judged? Can I fall apart without being humiliated? And in that freaking parking lot, she got the answer. Not because of what he said to her directly, but because of what he said about her when she wasn't supposed to hear. And that right there is where trust, it breaks. Not in the yelling, not in the fighting, not in the frustration, but in the behind the back moment. That's when she realized, I'm not being protected. I'm being managed by him. And that right there, that's gonna sit with her. It's gonna sit with her in her chest, in her memory, and the way that she now watches him. And that's not because she wants to hold onto a grudge, but it's because something in her nervous system, it changed in that moment. In that moment, she went from we are in this together to I am on my own. And that right there, that's grief all by itself. And let's talk about him, because he's not a villain, and he's not heartless, and he's not intentionally cruel. He's just uneducated in empathy and unpracticed in attunement. He is measuring her by the old body, the old energy level, and the old identity. He has not caught up to the new reality yet. And instead of him asking, how can I support you? He sought out to try to figure out, how do I get you back to where you were? But pregnancy, by definition, is the end of who she was. He is grieving the past version of his wife. And she is grieving the loss of protection from the person that she thought that she had. And now they're both hurting. But only one's pain got acknowledged. And it was his pain. Because she wasn't allowed to be tired. She wasn't allowed to be overwhelmed. She wasn't allowed to be human. She was expected to be a performance. And when she couldn't perform, he blamed her for it. And like I said, it's not because he's evil, but because he has never had to think about what it costs to carry life. So what needs to happen now is not an apology. It's not justification. It's not a debate about who is right. What needs to happen is repair. And repair, it sounds like, I didn't understand what your body is going through. I minimized your pain. I cared more about how the situation made me look than about how you were feeling. And I'm sorry that I didn't protect you. You deserve support, and I want to do better. Help me understand what you need moving forward. That's it. No defense, no logic, no buts, no you were being dramatic, just accountability on his end. Because she is not asking for perfection. She's asking for partnership. And for her, I want to say this. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. You're not holding on to a grudge. You were hurt. And when someone you trust dismisses your pain, it doesn't just sting. It rearranges the way you feel safe with them. So your feelings, they make complete sense. Take your time with them. Take your space. Let your body settle, because your healing does not have to be rushed to make him comfortable. And if you're someone listening who has been in this position, pregnant or not, I want you to remember this. You don't have to prove your pain for it to be real. You do not have to perform strength to be worthy of support. You do not have to shrink your needs so other people stay comfortable. Love that requires you to disappear is not love at all. It's control. And you deserve better than that. And if you've ever been made to feel dramatic for having a human moment or for being told that your body was a burden, I just want to say this. Your needs are not inconveniences. Your limits are not failures. Your vulnerability is not embarrassing. You deserve someone who protects you when you are at the most breakable, not someone who apologizes for you. So thank you. Thank you for being here with me today. I'll see you on the next.